Hello, hello. I'm Nicole Lombardo, co-founder of Get It Done Gals Business Coaching, and today is going to be look a little bit different on the How Did She Do It segment. So today I'm actually going to be interviewed by our VA, Brittany. And we wanted to do this because, well, Brittany actually brought it up, thought it was a good idea when we were brainstorming some social media and blog posts and all of that for summer. And so it will give a little bit behind the scenes and a little bit more into my story as an entrepreneur and why I'm a business coach and all of those little details so that you guys can get to know me a little bit better. So I'm going to hand it over to Brittany. So I'll let her take it from here.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. Hi, everybody. As Nicole mentioned, my name is Brittany. I'm the behind the scenes gal of the Get It Done Gals team. I help Lindsay and Nicole with a lot of the back end stuff, their social media and blogs and things like that. And I've been blessed with the opportunity to know both Nicole and Lindsay for several years, and actually worked with Lindsay for a while. And then just in our individual journeys came back together, and I've been working with them for the past year or so. And, you know, Lindsay and Nicole do such a great job highlighting other incredible women in business. And, you know, Nicole and I were talking, and I thought it really important that you guys get a better idea of their stories. You know, where did Nicole and Lindsay come from? You know, how did they get to this place? And the more you know about their stories, the more you'll understand that they have a lot of knowledge between them too, and can really help you regardless of where you are in your business, in your life, regardless of what industry you're in. And so today is all about diving in a little bit more into Nicole's story. And so you can hear straight from her, you know, where she came from, all of her different experiences, and really just to get a better idea of who she is as a person and where she is in her business and life, and how she can truly support you to help you get to that next level. So we'll dive in, and yeah, I'm excited. So Nicole, I think, you know, something that not a lot of people know about you is you not only graduated from high school at 17, but you actually got a start with a degree in kinesiology. So talk me through that time in your life. Why kinesiology, and how did that kind of set your course in business and life?
I rarely get asked about the whole kinesiology thing. So it's interesting because I graduated early. I had so many credits in high school. I was going to a community college at 15. My mom would have to drive me over to the community college and drop me off, and I would take my classes, and I'd be really embarrassed. My mom was picking me up in her green minivan. So, you know, I was a freshman in high school and going to college at the same time, and that really set me up for an easy exit out of high school. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was interested in the sciences and health and nutrition and physical therapy more. And so I went to San Diego State, and I graduated with a kinesiology degree. However, I've never done a single thing with it, because the same time I was going to San Diego State and doing this whole kinesiology path, I actually was working in the mortgage and real estate industry. So I started in finance and mortgages when I was 19, and I had a remarkable experience of working in a very small mortgage broker office. And so they eventually became my mentors and really good friends. And they taught me so much, not only about mortgages and finance and real estate, but business. And I worked with them until I was in my 30s. And so, you know, over a decade with them. And I really just took my experiences, because obviously I'm a high achiever. You know, I went to college and high school at the same time. I was working pretty much full-time and going to school full-time. And so I like to have my hands on a lot of things. And that really set me up when I was working in finance. You know, I just started by being an assistant and clearing out files and all of that. And then I got my real estate license, my notary license, and I was processing loans. And then I moved on and I started working more and more in the business on marketing and QuickBooks and managing some people and hiring and all those things that you do. And so I really got a good taste of how to run a multi-million-dollar business. And so I was very blessed with that opportunity. And I say that in answering your question because while I was in college going through the kinesiology, I kept thinking, I just have to close this thing down. I just need that certificate. I need out of here because at the time, the market was doing really well. And so I had bought my first condo. At 25, I was, making good money with the mortgage business and all of that. So I thought, why start over? I'm already like mid-career. And so this degree, like I just need to get it done and sealed and delivered, And so that's what I did. I never really used the kinesiology, but it's funny because now I work with a lot of health coaches and nutritionists and I understand the nutrition because that was so infused in the kinesiology. I had many nutrition courses and physiology and all of that. So it did help me to some extent.
It's funny how, in your life, like sometimes you go through experiences and in the moment you're like, I have no idea why I'm doing this or, what this is really going to do for me down the line. And this seems kind of pointless right now. And then a lot of times things come full circle. So you guys do work with a ton of people in the health and fitness industry. And so it's interesting that, at the time you were like, okay, this degree is totally, pointless, but now it's come full circle and you're really able to use that knowledge that you gained back then and really help people in that industry. And you mentioned that, this is where you really met your mentor. And I want to touch on that for a little bit because I think a lot of people have questions about mentors. Do you need one? Do you not need one? Why are they important? What is your take as far as like really having someone mentor you through certain aspects of your life?
Oh, I think it's so critical. I think it's so important to surround yourself with really, really good people. And I just happened to fall into it being, my boss for so many years. But I worked for, like I said, a small mortgage brokerage, and it was a husband and wife team. And just, after 12 years of working with them day in and day out and everything, and really, Stephanie, the wife, she really mentored me in a way that was around business and giving me the opportunity. She saw where I could go. And so she kept opening those doors for me of, hey, why don't you do QuickBooks? Oh, hey, why don't you go hire somebody? Like, why don't you, take over marketing or whatever that looked like. She saw those opportunities and really just nurtured me through that growth process. I was so young when I started working with them. And as she was nurturing me, I started, like I said, I like to have my hands on a lot of things. So I was processing loans. And at the same time, that wasn't my true joy. And they knew that. And so he was doing some real estate developing here in San Diego and in Florida. And so I started doing that with her husband. And so he became my mentor in like the real estate side of things. In bigger life things too, they really helped me navigate of, if mortgages are, it's a crazy up and down thing, every day it's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot to take on. And so I never saw them freaking out. I never saw them, it can be a pretty crazy existence as a someone who's in mortgages. And I never saw them freaking out. There would be days where, they literally would have lost so many locks, which is, you lock in a price for a loan, right? An interest rate. And if that moves in the market, like you're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars because you have so many clients. And so I never saw them freak out. I just saw them like, they're on top of it. They're organized. They didn't let their emotions swing. And so that's what I really understood from a business aspect of like just being like slow and steady, be even across the board. Don't get emotional. Don't get emotional about clients. Sit back. If there's weird feedback or negative feedback from someone, sit back, really evaluate what the situation is, get some perspective around it, and then address it. And so they really taught me to just be forward thinking and like really even toned. And I don't think that can be taught through an online course. I don't think that can be taught in so many different situations in life. And so, you know, having mentors for me was so vital because I was just so young. And they saw the future for me. I mean, I still call them and ask for their advice, you know, on different things in life or business or investments or, you know, stuff like that. We still chat about those things. And so having that, they know who I am as a person. They know what my tendencies are. And so developing this relationship, I mean, it's been 20 years now of developing this relationship. And I look up to them and I know that so many things that they do are things that I really would like to implement into my life. So when you're choosing mentors, it's somebody who can really understand who you are as a person, who can teach you on a personal level, but also teach you on a business level or a life level. And so I think those three together really work hand in hand. I think it's one of those things that I was blessed to fall into it. I had never really thought about having mentors. I never really looked at them as my mentors until just recently. And all of a sudden it dawned on me like, wow, those are my mentors. And those are people I look up to and love and cherish and value in my life. And when choosing mentors, it's really about creating and cultivating a connection with somebody. And maybe they're not your mentor at first, but you develop a relationship into that. You can reach out to different people that you look up to. It can be a very lighter relationship than I have with my mentors, where maybe you just talk about business. But after a certain amount of time, I think you will develop like where they're really teaching you about life. So hopefully that answers your question.
Absolutely. I mean, you made so many great points there about, you know, who a mentor can be in your, not just in your business, but also in your life. And, you know, when you are working for a company or a small team or something like that, a lot of times your mentor is your boss or somebody you get to know because you're around them on a day-to-day basis. I think so many people now are, you know, solopreneurs and they work from home and they don't have that team environment. And so maybe they feel like they're missing out on that mentor opportunity. So talk through, you know, what advice do you have for those people? I mean, I think, you know, being a consultant and a coach, like that's definitely where you can kind of come in and help those solopreneurs. Because you are going to have questions. You are going to, you know, you may not even realize that you're trying to recreate the wheel whenever it's already been created for you. And just having that person not only show you what to do, but a lot of times the big lesson is in showing you what not to do. So, you know, like you mentioned, don't freak out, you know, or don't stress out over certain situations, or don't let your emotions overtake you. Those are lessons that you learn from a mentor or a coach that you may not even realize you need to know.
Exactly. You know, and here's the thing is you make a really good point in the whole solopreneur thing. And you have to really evaluate what the heck you're doing as a solopreneur. You know, I mean, it's a business and you have to choose whether you're really going to be serious about that business or not. And so reinventing the wheel is like the quickest way not to make money, You know, I mean, just get the knowledge from someone who's done it before, someone who pushes you. I just got off the phone with a client and I said, you know, when you're having those hesitations, you need to reach out to me. When you feel like you don't want to post or you're feeling a little nervous about it, reach out. I'm here to support you. I'm here to push you. I'm here to move your business forward. I'm not going to just sit here and tell you what to do, but I'm here to hand in hand work with you here to support you in what you need. And I think that business coaches are a great way to get, you know, mentors. Paying people for their time is different than asking your friends who are in business. You know, I have a lot of people come to me and say, oh, my friend so-and-so is running a business and they said to do this. And I said, you know, that's great. That's wonderful advice. However, here's a few tweaks and changes that need to happen because you're missing a few pieces there. And, you know, having someone like really look at all the pieces of your business and then filling in all the holes versus you going, oh, squirrel, here's more information. Oh, I'm going to try that because my friend said to do this and this webinar said to do that. It gets very out of control fast. And that's where a lot of people are these days. They're lost, they're overwhelmed, they're struggling, they're out of control because they just need to go back to the basics, back to the foundation. And when you go back to that, everything starts to realign. So having someone in your life that will tell you, hey, take this stuff off your plate and go back to the basics, go back to your foundation, ask yourself the hard questions. That's someone you want on your team. That's who you want as a mentor. That's who you want in your mastermind. That's who you want as a business coach. You know, it's an investment to work with a business coach or to be in a paid mastermind. I think it's the best way is to invest. I think that it holds you accountable to the choices you're making. You need to invest in that person who has spent years and lots of money investing in themselves to figure it all out. And so go to those people and say, I want to pay you for your knowledge, your expertise, because you put in the hard work. And only if you're ready to take on that hard work. We don't work with a lot of people because they're not at that point where they are ready and dedicated. I'm not going to work with people who aren't committed. There's plenty of free content for that. And as far as a mentor, I don't pay my mentors, but I put in the hard work. I've had 20 years of working with them side by side, of, you know, calling them and talking to them. I visit with them yearly and talk about things, you know, like I ask for that help. I also give back to them in other ways, you know, it's a cultivated relationship now.
Definitely. And I mean, I can say, you know, I've worked with you for a couple of years now, and Lindsay I've known for several years. And one of the things I most appreciate about you guys from a friendship and from a business standpoint is you're very direct and to the point. And I value those people in my life just because you're not going to tell me what I want to hear. You're going to tell me what I need to hear. And I think that's the difference between, you know, when you're trying to start a business, you have to set it up as a business and you have to take it seriously. And so asking your friends who are probably going to just tell you what you want to hear isn't the way to grow that business. And so reaching out to, you know, whether it's you and Lindsay or joining a community, and a lot of those communities can be free, but really setting yourself up for success is taking it seriously and surrounding yourself with business savvy people who are going to tell you what you need to hear.
It's so true. You know, it's free communities are great, but if you want to make huge shifts and changes and really make strides in your business, having the accountability, the group around you, other entrepreneurs, people wouldn't talk about it if it wasn't working. And people have been talking about this. Look at Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Look at Dale Carnegie. These people, this is not anything new. This is stuff that people have known for really hundreds of years, right? It's, you know, those people all lived in the early 1900s. So, you know, this is something that you need to really think about who you're going to surround yourself with. And I choose to surround myself with other entrepreneurs, other powerful leaders. I choose to surround myself with mentors and be involved in with my coaches and in masterminds and with colleagues. And, if you are a solopreneur and you're like, where the heck do I start? Then just start by being like in our Get It Done Gals Facebook group. Connect with other people in there. There's amazing women in that group. Reach out to them, talk to them, connect with them. That's how a lot of our mastermind and coaches have come to us, is because we've reached out to people online. I've also reached out to people locally, have a coffee, have a chat, connect with people, communicate with people. Those relationships grow. And the other thing is, like I said, investing in a coach. I follow Brendan Burchard, and he was talking about, he reaches out to people. This guy makes 7 figures easy on every launch he does. And he reaches out for new mentors and cultivates relationships and says, hey, can I pay you for an hour of your time to chat about X? He's not like, hey, can I have a free coffee with you? Hey, can I pay you for your time? Because I would love to chat with you about this certain thing. If he's doing it, you sure as heck should be doing it. I sure as heck should be doing it. Because why would we, like you said, reinvent the wheel? There's principles and strategies working. Why would you continue to spin out of control if you know someone has the answer for you?
Absolutely.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And there's even articles and statistics about the professional athletes who also have coaches and trainers. And it's because you can never get to that point of pretending like you know everything. And so if the experts, the professionals, if they know they need help, then 100% the person who's just getting started needs a helping hand.
Well, and, it gets into this like financial thing. Everybody would love to have a business coach. Everybody would love to have masterminds, right? But there's a financial piece to it that really holds people back. And so that's why I say, if you're serious about your business and you want to invest in your business, then there's ways to come up with that finance, right? And it's okay if you're scared, because it's scary to start investing in yourself. But you have to remember, so I'm a financial coach as well, and I'm going to actually start talking about this a lot more because I feel like this would really support people, is that you need to look at your business as not just another fun thing. Because I feel like a lot of people these days have just like this fun thing, and maybe they'll make money, maybe they won't, but they want to quit their 9-to-5. Your business is an asset. It needs to be making money. It's an investment. And usually when you have an investment, you have to invest in that investment. Stocks just don't come to you freely. Real estate doesn't just come to you freely. You invest in the real estate. You invest in the stocks. They have a rate of return. And it's the same with your business. So if you start looking at your business as this is an investment, it's going to make me money, it's very different than saying, oh, I'm going to start this side thing because I want to help everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to take it seriously if you actually want it to grow, whether it's a passion project or side hustle or whatever it may be. If you want it to grow, then you have to take it seriously and also surround yourself with those people who will get you to that next level. A point that I want to, kind of get back to your journey and talk about, just to show that, this isn't something that you just talk about and teach. It's something you actually implement into your own life. You started a company, Pacific Web Consulting, and you started it with your husband, and you hit 6 figures in the first year. So I just wanted to make that point so the audience knows that you know what you're talking about. Like, it's not something that, oh, I'm just going to dabble in this for a few months and then I'm going to go and teach other people how to do it. Like, this is something you've been implementing in your own life since, 2000, I think. But so kind of talk us through, starting this company, and what did you do to make it hit 6 figures in your first year, also working with your husband?
So we started Pacific Web Consulting in 2008, and he was doing consulting for people. And so this is where, a lot of people get lost too, is that they focus on one thing. And when that one thing is not working, they're too scared to do a little bit something different to generate income. Money is money, generate the income, get the money in the door. So for Pacific Web Consulting, he is a consultant. He was building websites. He was we were doing some marketing campaigns and stuff like that. He was also consulting for a local company for software development. And so between all of the consulting contracts that were coming in, yes, it was, multi six figures very quickly, because we were actually doing work for people versus trying to coach someone or trying to just be online. It was like, no, we're directly talking to businesses. So it was, B2B, which is a little different than like the whole coaching thing. At the same time of starting the Pacific Web Consulting is I started consulting for a friend of mine who's actually a professional basketball trainer. So as you said, that was a perfect example of, even professionals need coaches and trainers. And so a friend of mine at the time was training NBA players, and he was also an NBA agent. And so he had a very specific skill, and he would go in and train professional basketball players this skill. And he would go to professional teams and teach them these skills. So that says a lot about bringing in coaches. You're bringing in different people with specific skills, because basketball teams have all their coaches, right? And then they bring in this special coach to teach another skill. And so he had all this footage, and he was saying, I want to have a DVD. At the time it was DVDs, not so much online delivery. And so I worked with him. And so I brought that in under Pacific Web Consulting. I was consulting for businesses as well. And, we set that business up. I became a partner in that eventually, but I set that business up super fast. And so that's where I saw all my skills from the mortgage industry of like hiring a team and knowing marketing and knowing finance and QuickBooks and all of that. I brought all those skills and I put together, we had a DVD and distribution and website and funnel, like we had everything within 3 months. And so it was a fast turnaround. And so I saw at that point in time, oh, wow, I can really pull together a business. We had legal entities, everything. It was like signed, sealed, delivered. Here's your business. And that's how Pacific Web Consulting grew, is that we were consulting for other people at that time.
That's amazing. I feel like the further we get into your journey, I feel like you've lived like 9 lives. Starting out in like the health and fitness industry and, jumping into real estate and mortgage and learning finance and really becoming a super savvy businesswoman. And now you're doing consulting. And, oh, by the way, I'm going to have my hand in, the NBA. Really, it's really impressive. And this kind of brings us to a part in your journey that I find super interesting. And I think a lot of your, audience would be interested as well, is this whole working with your husband thing. I think a lot of people have the idea of like, oh, it'd be so great if my husband and I could work together. And then so many people, in the back of their mind are thinking, oh my gosh, I could never make that work. How do you guys make that work?
Just like a marriage, 2 parties have to want to be involved. That's the easiest way, right? So where does conflict come from? It's when one person's running the show and the other person's feeling like they're being dragged along. That can be in marriage and business or wherever. And, in the business side of things, he was consulting and he had different contracts, and I was consulting in a different way. And so it really was very compatible, and we were both working on different things. And for him, he doesn't like to manage. He does not like to manage projects. He doesn't like to look at all the details. He just is a workhorse. He just wants to get in, do what he wants to do. You know, he likes connecting and collaborating and talking about things to come in the future. You know, he was working on a lot of software at the time that was pretty incredible, you know, building hands-free devices that could like read brain waves so people could type handless, you know, like things like that, that were just like, wow, this back then it was so cutting edge and unbelievable, you know? And so he enjoyed those things and he focused on that. He focused on meeting new partners and bringing in the contracts. And I focused on more of the business side of things and the smaller consulting jobs and managing everything, because I was used to that. I was managing people for a long time and doing all the finance and all of that. So it worked hand in hand where we both worked on what we loved and what we were experts in. And we didn't mess with each other in that. You know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't trying to tell me I need to do something different. And I wasn't telling him he needs to do something different. We just came together in a really balanced way. And we both wanted to be in it. And we both wanted to do this consulting work.
That's amazing. So, I mean, I agree. I think in a partnership, you need to find someone who's committed, someone you can trust, and then someone who truly, you know, is a good balance to you. So maybe where your strengths are, you need to find someone who can counterbalance that where your weaknesses are. And so that way you're not competing, but instead you're working cohesively together for one common goal.
Beautifully said.
Main points.
Yep. Beautifully said.
I don't think anyone would disagree with me when I say that you're a super passionate person. One of the things that I definitely want to touch on that I didn't even know this until very recently, and I think it really shows not only your passion, but you know, just your heart in giving back to women. But you actually started a handbag line that gives back to women who it gives them an opportunity to create some money to get out of human trafficking. Did I say that correct? Or can you kind of talk us through that project? Because I'm just fascinated by that.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, once again, I built that business. My cousin was in Bangladesh and India, and she was working with some companies that help these women that were in human trafficking get off the streets and give them fair wages and taught them how to read and write and healthcare and childcare. And so phenomenal programs. And when she and I were talking, a woman at one of the companies had said, you know, please just send people our way so that we can help more women. And that just immediately hit me. And so I thought, well, I'll order some of these bags from them and sell them online. And it wasn't a side hustle. Once again, I don't do anything like part way. So of course I built this big bit. I built with like, once again, legal entity, bank account, like there was no side hustle going on. And I brought in a business coach that specialized in female products. So she had been in Anthropologie and Macy's and all this. So I started working with her and I built this business. And what happened is my business partner in the basketball training company introduced me to this gentleman, and this all ties together, this gentleman that was very interested in what I was doing. He was from India. His uncle was the prime minister. He went to Harvard. And so he was in America, and he was talking to a bunch of his friends in Congress. And then he met with his friend from the CEO of Chick-fil-A, and then he wanted to meet with me. And I was like, yeah, okay, what? Why me? So he had heard about what I was doing, and we sat down. He was in Orange County, just north of San Diego here. And so we sat down, and he wanted to know the same question as you. Why in the world are you working with these women? And so I told him the story, and I showed him the bags, and they were like, More for traveling, like cosmetic bags and tote bags and all of that. And so I was selling them online, and he had asked about them. And, you know, not only was I supporting the women who were making the bags, because the company's called Free Set, and they make all the bags, and you can send them the designs you want and they make them. So the women automatically get the childcare, healthcare, the fair wages, everything. You're already supporting them. And then on top of it, I wanted to give back. So a percentage of profits, and this is a whole lesson for entrepreneurs. They don't understand profits versus revenue versus sales versus income. It's it's all in one bucket for them. And so I was giving a percentage of my profits, and giving back even further. And so he wanted to know more about that. And so he and I started chatting about the fact that he was already working with, he had a ministry in India, and he was working with kids in the schools and educating and all of that. But he saw this huge need for girls and women, especially in the temple towns. So he explained to me that when a husband dies, the women usually go to this temple town to be near the temple and to be taken care of. And it's just part of their culture and for that segment of people. And what would happen is a lot of human traffickers would come in and say, hey, do you want a job? Just come on this bus, and 10 hours later, they've been basically trafficked. And so he was saying, I want to set up something for these girls and these women who are now in this town without the protection of their father, dad, husband, whatever. And, create a program where they sew. Well, he had asked them, he had gotten a bunch of girls together, and they said, we want to help you ladies. What do you guys want? What do you gals want? And the girls said, we want to learn like henna and makeup work and cosmetology work, and we want to learn sewing and seamstress work. And so they said, great, well, how about we teach you both? And so they set up a school there for the girls so they can live at home, help support the family, learn the trades, and then they gave them all the tools to be able to stay at home and be able to start working. And so I sort of became a part of that. The percentage I was giving back then went to that school. And so they trained hundreds of these girls to become seamstresses and to do cosmetology and henna work. And so when he would come to the States, I would meet up with him, and he'd send PowerPoints of like what was going on and how they were building the school and all of that, so that we could stay up to date on everything that was going on over there and where the funds from the bag company were actually going.
That's incredible. I love that story. I just found that out about you, I think this week. And just reading about that, I was like, okay, that is something we absolutely have to talk about. I mean, that's such an amazing investment of your time and energy. And thank you for doing that. And you mentioned something that I think the audience may have a question about. And you talked about the importance of giving a percentage of your profit over your revenue. Can you just briefly explain the difference and why that's so important?
Wish I had a whiteboard behind me. It gets confusing. So I would give like 5% of my profits or whatever it was, instead of like 100% of my revenue. So when you're in business, you make money, but you have expenses, right? So if you're making, here I am teaching. If you make, $100,000, can you see that?
Yeah.
And you have 90% expenses, let's say, and you have 10,000 left over. This is your actual profit versus this. But a lot of times in business, when you're just starting out, you're investing, right? Especially if you have a product-based business, you're investing in the product, you're investing in distribution, you're investing in coaches, you're investing in overhead. So all that overhead depletes the actual revenue you're making. And so the profit left over is very minimal. And, someone explained to me, I don't know if it was right or wrong decision, but morally, I made the decision to give a percentage of the actual profits, because that's where there was actual money there, versus this idea of, so I've made 6 figures, but if I've spent all the money, that's revenue. So even if you gave 100% of your revenue away, you're looking at what's left over, and it's nothing.
Yeah, I feel like
that's it all off.
Yeah, I feel like it can be, seen as a very simple lesson, but I feel like so many people can get themselves in trouble by, giving money away from their revenue versus the profit. And maybe it's just never been broken down for them. So definitely think that that's such an important point.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've put this out there, like in a couple feeds where people, say, do you give back, or, whatever. And I had a choice to make. I could have said, because 100% of something looks so much better than 5%, but 100% of nothing is still nothing.
Right.
5% of a little bit is still something. Hopefully that makes sense to people listening. So I instead of making myself look bigger and like, oh, I'm giving so much, I actually gave money. And that was what was true to me and my goal and my mission.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of companies get themselves in trouble too, just from a reputation standpoint, because there's so many organizations that kind of hide where their money actually goes to. And on the other side, you see like, oh, they're paying like so much money towards actual staff. And then by the time that they give money back, there's nothing to give back. So, I mean, that's such an important point in being super transparent, especially when running an organization, to give money back to a group of people, that you're actually giving money back to that group of people.
Oh, it was so important to me. I mean, the whole reason I started Luso Bags was because of that one woman saying, please send people our way. To me, it wasn't even about business. It actually wasn't a smart business move to even have the whole thing. It was part of my journey. It was understanding product-based business. It was understanding what worked and what didn't. I hired a coach that had me, great person, but she had me doing everything under the sun, blogging, Twitter, Haro, contributing. I mean, I was so run ragged. I couldn't even decide on what to design the bags. I was up in the LA Mart with all these other products, like sales rooms, sales reps. And I sat down one day. This is why it's so important to sit down in your business and look at what's actually going on. And I was like, why am I on Twitter? I don't need to be on Twitter. Scratch that. Okay. Why am I blogging? Why am I contributing to Haro and being an expert and whatever? Cut that. Okay, next. And I had bags. I had season, you have to come out with the spring line and the fall line and keep up with all the sales reps. And I was like, I'm just going to go with the one sales rep that's actually doing everything, and fired everybody else. And I cut all the spring and the fall and everything like that, and all the new patterns and fabrics. And I just went with working with Freeset and had a few birds were the theme at the time. And so we would just design little bags directly from those women. And so as I cut more and more, obviously my, the profits were going up. And I also got involved in the local community. And that's where things really shifted. And I saw, although there was a need in India, there's a very high need for supporting women here in San Diego. We're a border community, so there is a lot of trafficking. There's a lot of stuff going on here. And once I started getting involved in that, then my whole business turned around. It was just it was easy. Things were selling. It felt right. I was connecting with people in the local community. I started getting picked up in magazines, all those things that I instead of doing everything under the sun, I just cut it. And then things started to work.
Well, I think that message, I mean, that you learned with Luso Bags and everything that kind of brought you up to this point really attributes to your whole messaging through the Get It Done Gals. And that kind of brings us to 2013. You meet Lindsay. You have this idea of starting Marketing Co-op. So talk us through that, and really have some questions. And I'm excited to hear about how you guys got this started and how you decided you two were a good fit for each other.
Yeah, Marketing Co-op existed because at the time I was still consulting. So, Pacific Web Consulting, I was still doing some business coaching and consulting on the side. I not only coached people on their businesses and social media because people saw me, people were just reaching out and saying, oh my gosh, what are you doing with those bags? How are you in magazines? How are you selling? How are you, getting all this stuff working and moving and shaking? And so I decided, well, I can't coach all day long for hours and hours for free at coffee shops. I need to start charging. And so I just started charging, and that was fine. And then I started, consulting again and in a bigger way, and became a part of really helping some entrepreneurs with their online efforts. And, I enjoyed that at the time. It was really fun and fresh, and I saw what was going on. And so I was able to do that consulting work and coaching. And I met Lindsay through someone I knew here locally in San Diego. And when Lindsay and I met, she was running online launches as well, and worked at a local, he's an online entrepreneur and marketer, but has a gym and all of that as well. And that's where you guys had met, correct?
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Lindsay and I worked for about 2 years together there.
Yeah. So when she and I met, she had a blog called Marketing Co-op. And she was just kind of trickling out some marketing ideas and tips and all of that. And I was consulting and coaching. And, we were like, let's just do a little mastermind together. And so we would meet every week and talk about business and what we wanted to do moving forward. And after a while, the same topic kept coming up of women are doing these big online courses and programs, yet they're so confused. They're overwhelmed, which was exactly what I was in Luso Bags, right?
Right.
So it goes back to, it was there for a reason. It served a purpose. And when I cut everything out and just focused on the strategies that did work and what felt easy and what flowed versus all the shoulds and the craziness. And Lindsay was on that same path of like, just simplify. And she had this 4 W's and a marketing filter process. And essentially it was the same thing. Get back to the roots, get back to the foundation, get back to simplicity, get back to getting away from squirrel and FOMO and all of that. And so we had very similar messages. And, even though we both had online launching experience and email lists and social media and all of this, but really our core message was just simplify. And so we started chatting about that more and more. And we decided, let's put together something that just really helps women just simplify everything, kind of cut through all the stuff they've learned all over the web, and give them the steps. And so we decided to create, we just took on Marketing Co-op because she already had it. And yeah, we started like that. But, we came to that conclusion, but I was in the middle of relocating to New Zealand. And so I just said, I'll relocate and we'll revisit this once I get over there and kind of see what's going on. And then we started the actual business while I was living in New Zealand and she was living in San Diego.
Wow. So, we talked earlier about you working with your husband and what it makes it work as far as bringing a teammate on. I think sometimes working specifically with a spouse can be a little bit more stressful, but too, there's a huge shift going from being a solopreneur to, okay, now I'm going to have a partner. It's now 50-50. And so how do you feel like you and Lindsay really make that work? You've talked a lot about your story, but, more specifically, what are your strengths? What are her strengths? And how do y'all come together to really make Get It Done Gals work for you? And
Well, yeah, like you said earlier, like we each have strengths, and we have a policy. There's no guilt. There's no, if you're sick, you're sick. If you're tired, you're tired. We're both doing the best we can. And there's little tweaks and changes. And I like to communicate. I like to, if anything comes up, like communicate, pick up the phone and talk about it, talk it out. I think that with Lindsay, we're a good fit because we've both worked in similar aspects, but we have different takes on it. And so when our clients are working with us, she'll give her take, I'll give my take. A lot of it, like 80% is the same, and we could say each other's sentences. But the other 20% is, well, what do you think? And I'll maybe have a little bit of a different point of view than she does. And people can apply what they want and take what they want and leave the rest. And I think it's nice because we've both worked in different industries. I come from that more strategic, financial, I think about things. I let them resonate. I ask my intuition. All right. And she comes from that, like, get it done, get it off the list. Let's go. Like and so it's a nice balance because we can have those different points of view, and it works for different people because we're all individual. It's all subjective. When you're already running your business, you do you show up as you, and we can give tips. My productivity looks different than Lindsay's productivity. Right. So, there's no right or wrong in that. And so I think it's a beautiful thing that Lindsay and I, we're very understanding of each other's circumstances and feelings. She's busy. She consults for an online marketing company. She's teaching marketing at a fashion institute. I'm always moving to a different country. I'm always doing something random. And I have, my other finance coaching, and I consult and do business coaching outside of this for different types of businesses. So we're busy. And I think just having the understanding of what one another's strengths are, and being understanding that we don't have to, we just keep it simple. We cut the fluff, and there's all these things that we could and should and might be fun or whatever. But if it's overwhelming, we don't do it. And we just stay with high quality giving of ourselves in a way that feels good, where we really support a community, but we don't push. We don't push ourselves. We don't push our community. We're there to support and teach and train and lead in the best way we can. But
I think that, kind of adding to what we were talking about earlier, and what makes a team work is you can never communicate too much. You and I talk about that all the time. Like, I'd rather over communicate than, just assume or hope that the message gets across. I love that. I guess you could call it grace. You offer each other grace, and having that no guilt clause and being understanding of each other's circumstances, and then also setting up all of your expectations up front and making sure you're on the same page as far as what your expectations are, for each other. And then also expectations as far as what you're going to offer your clients. And the fact that you two are so on the same page of the 80%, that extra 20% is really important in the sense that you can service so many more people because your personalities are different. You have slightly different backgrounds, but you both have such a wealth of knowledge and strategy and finance and planning and marketing and everything that kind of comes together. So you can kind of fine tune and tweak what that specific person needs between the two of you.
Exactly. It's nice because there's been times where we're on a group call or working with a client, and we'll say, like, what do you think, or what is your opinion? Or sometimes I say, I kind of disagree. I think that this would, and there's never like, I can't believe you disagreed with me. It's just like, well, I think maybe this perspective, or it's very fluid and understanding. And I think when you have two people who are really our bottom line is simplicity and helping women. Bottom line. That's all we want to do. It's not about us. It's not about stroking our ego. It's not about power. It's not about who does better, who runs it. It's none of that. Our core mission is just help support women, keep it simple. That's it.
I love it. I feel like too many people get that, like you said, squirrel syndrome or shiny object syndrome, and they want to like go to every new little thing. And the fact that you guys have been so, I mean, the message is the same across the board. Simplify, simplify, simplify. And that's how you truly move to the next level. I think too many people, I agree, get overcomplicated and overwhelm themselves out of their business before they even get started.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's something that I've been pushing extra hard. If I'm pushing at anything this spring, is simplify. Take the shoulds off the list. Take the webinars, the emails, all of this stuff that you think you're supposed to be doing. I just helped a woman in April. She did a huge launch. She emailed at the end of 4 weeks. She had 10 spots to fill for an international retreat. She had already put all the money out. That's a lot of money. And she said, I have this email ready to go. It does not feel good to email this. I don't want to email this. Here I'm launching this thing. And I said, don't. You don't have to. You do you. You run your business how you want to. You show up how you want to. People will resonate with that versus going down the list of everything I have to do and making it picture perfect and holding yourself back. It's about connection. It's about authenticity. Get yourself out there and talk to people. That's going to be so much better than building out huge sales funnels and then not having anyone go through them. you know?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, being a solopreneur, you need to be excited about every single day. And so you need to be authenticity speaks. And if you're not excited about every day because you're trying to be everything to everybody, then you're going to overwhelm yourself and you're going to kick yourself in the butt and your business is going to fail.
Yeah, but you don't need to. When you have just the exact tools that you need, you don't have to have the burnout. You have to keep the balance of what to work on and what not to work on. It's like in our vision planner, there's top 3 priorities at the top of the day. And, it's like, I have a list of things to do. These are negotiable. If they get done, they get done. If they don't, they don't. This is what moves the business forward. This is what brings in the revenue, right? Because I have to put food on the table. Lindsay and I have overhead for Get It Done Gals. We have to pay ourselves. This is a business, right? So those top 3 priorities are things that move our business forward. I don't have like a gazillion things to do. I focus on the ones that are going to give the most powerful impact and help women in such a real way versus going down a list of all the things I need to do.
Yeah, I love it. And the fact that this is completely 100% virtual, it's online, it's really allowed you to create a freedom-based business. And you touched on it a little bit earlier, but I want to talk about it again. Whenever y'all first met and got started, you moved to New Zealand, worked for several years, while Lindsay was there in San Diego and you were over in New Zealand, you came back and now you're getting ready to go to Paris. So I think that so many people have the question, how? Like, teach me how to do that. I mean, who doesn't want to live and work from Paris? So what are some of your checklist items to make sure that you're always doing what you need to do in your business, but you're also allowing yourself that balance and to live the life that you truly want to live, whether it's there at home in San Diego or New Zealand or Paris or wherever that may be?
Great question. Well, you have a key word in there that you said, and that's create. I've created this. And I believe in vision work. I believe in manifesting. I believe in hard work, a good to-do list. It's taking action on the things you want to take action on in life. And I have created this lifestyle. I've also manifested this lifestyle at the same time. And so what that looks like is I have a vision of what I want my life to look like. And where I want to travel and where I want to be. And if I want to be there full time, like we were in New Zealand, or if I want a few months in different places, like we're doing with Paris. I set the vision, I set the intention, and I start to manifest it by always bringing that up in my mind. I want to spend my time here doing this, and this is why. And then comes the action part of creating the to-do list and just taking those steps towards it. And so I'm creating that experience. I'm creating what I want my life to look like. And, you know, it's, New Zealand was taking action. My husband and I went there on holiday. And when we got back, we were looking for a house here in San Diego. We were placing offers on homes. And I didn't even realize this, was applying for jobs. I didn't realize that. It's taking action. New Zealand didn't just fall in our laps. He was taking action. He was applying for jobs. And so someone called him and asked him if he wanted, you know, this job he was looking at. There's a lot more to that story, but that's what opened the door, is that we were traveling. We've always wanted to live outside the US. We had all those ideas. And then we started taking the action. We went there on holiday to see if we liked it. Yes, we like it. Okay. He came back. He started applying for jobs. The door started opening. And so that's when you want to create the life you want to create, you have to really sit down and get real with yourself and say, what is it that I truly want? Do I want the house and the SUV and the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids? That's fine if you want it, and then create it. If you want the life of living in Paris, or living outside the US, or living in Austin, if you want to live in Austin, whatever that looks like for you, have the vision. And it's not like you're going to come up with it overnight. This is something that we talk about consistently, and it molds and changes, just like my entrepreneurial journey of having Pacific Web Consulting, and then Mid-Range 7 in the basketball company, and then the Luso Bags and the coaching, right? All of those things lead me to the next thing. Mm-hmm. And some things I take with me, and some things, yeah, I'm not done with the product-based stuff. Okay. You know, and you're flowing. And that's how our life is too, of I want to live outside the US. And then we get down there. I mean, shipping container, sold everything, sold our cars. We had just purchased a new house. The day I moved in is the day he brought the contract home for New Zealand. Stuff happens, right? Excuse me. But we flowed with it. And then once we got down there, after a while, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a Southern California baby. I've been there my whole life. I want to go home. I feel like I need to go home. And that doesn't mean that we won't be back in New Zealand, because my husband resonates and wants to be there. So we're creating the life that fits both of us, and we're ebbing and flowing with that. And so France was something where 2 years ago, I started saying, summer 2017, I want to be in France. We always traveled, you know, a couple days, a couple weeks. And, you know, we've been to France before. And I said, you know, I just want to be there for a little bit extended time. I didn't know if that meant 3-week vacation, 4-week vacation, 3 months. I didn't know what that looked like, but I just kept saying summer France to 2017. And then my husband came to me one day and he said, hey, June 28th or whatever of 2017, or excuse me, May 28th, I have to take 3 months off. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And I was like, well, I'm not going to New Zealand. It's winter there. I'm not doing that. No. How about we go to France? And he's like, oh, that would be so fun. Let's do that. So we started planning it last spring. Like, okay, next summer we're going to go to France. And his work said, oh, we heard that your wife wants to move to France. How about we relocate you to Paris? Right? So it's this, I had a vision. I started talking about it. We started planning for it. We didn't know what it was going to look like. And then the universe started manifesting things, right? The universe got involved and said, hey, why don't we throw this at you? And so it's been this, we didn't know what we were going to do until just recently. We flowed with it, but we also co-created it, right?
Yeah.
And then we took
I
the
mean,
action steps.
I think the key part there is it's so easy for people to look at that and say, oh, well, I don't have a husband, or maybe I don't have a husband who has a job that could relocate him to Paris. And I think they're going to skip the part. And I love what you said, that in order to create the life you want to create, you have to get real with yourself. And the second part of that is you have to take action. And it's funny because I knew you wanted to move to Paris or spend some time in Paris, but I didn't realize that you actually put the deadline of summer 2017. And it's beautiful in the sense of you put those things out there, and you have to, like you said, get real with yourself. Like, how much do you really want it? Is that something you can actually create for yourself? And it is creating. It's not sitting back and waiting and just hoping. It's, putting it out there and dwelling on it and taking action steps that will actually move you towards that end goal.
Yeah. And on the business side, because you had asked that, is that, with online coaching, obviously I can live and work anywhere, because as long as I have internet, I can work. And when I had the product-based business, I shut that down when we moved to New Zealand because I didn't want overhead. I didn't want a distribution center in the US. If I was living in New Zealand, I didn't want products. So at that time, I made that conscious decision of everything's going to be online. That doesn't mean I don't hold local events or workshops, but for the most part, everything is online. And I knew that's how I wanted to work. That can be a lonely existence. In New Zealand, it was a lonely existence. We lived on the very outskirts of Auckland. And that was a beautiful experience, but I was lonely. And so, there's give and take with that, and you have to create your communities and local, events and community stuff like that. So, Paris will be interesting because I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like. I don't know what that will look like at this point. But it's exciting. And, it's, business is an interesting thing because I look at it as, I not only have Get It Done Gals, but I have, consulting and coaching on the side. Finance coaching and stuff like that. I also have investments that support me. I've had investments that have supported me for the last 10 years financially. So, it's not like I just have one thing going. And I think that's the other part of, like, how do you create this? Well, I'm not just focusing on my business. I focus on life as a whole. And so it's, that could be a whole other segment, but
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
We could do a whole nother segment just on finances and investments and blow people's minds with what to do in that aspect of your life.
Yeah. That's what's, let's be real about that. Like, it's something that I have, finance meetings with myself every single week. So I know what's going on financially. It's not just waiting, hoping, wishing that I'm going to make $1 million and be able to sit on a beach. That does not exist for me. It doesn't exist for a lot of entrepreneurs. And let's be real. You have to know what you are going to create. You have to take the action steps, but you also have to be pretty strategic in how you're going to get there. You've got to figure out what you're going to do. And sometimes that means taking on a side job, consulting for other people, having investments that work for you. Get It Done Gals is just one piece of the puzzle. It's just one piece of the investment portfolio, I guess. So I want to be real about that because that's how I work.
Yeah.
Well,
you're moving to Paris in a few days. So to kind of wrap this up, let your audience know, what can they expect from you? What can they expect from Get It Done Gals? What are you most excited about in Paris? Just kind of talk us through, the next few months of your life.
Yeah, it's exciting. So this summer in France is going to be exciting. I'm going to push myself. I'm going to break out of my box. I tend to be the behind the scenes person in Get It Done Gals. And so I'm going to step more in the forefront on social media and show you behind the scenes of what it takes to run Get It Done Gals, what it takes to live in a different country, what it takes to make this all happen. And so the more feedback I can get from our community, the better, because I want to know what people want to see and feel and experience through social media with us. And so I'm excited about that, because, you know, we really are entering the age of documenting, and I want to be able to do that for those people who want to see behind the scenes and want to experience this. So yeah, it's going to push me out of my comfort zone. I've done a lot of work around it this spring already, so I'm actually really happy to get out there and share how to make this happen. You know, if people are interested in this, then, you know, let me know. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know how you want it to be documented on the business side, finance side, creative side, whatever that looks like.
I love it. Well, I personally am so excited to see your life transition to Paris. If people want to follow you and see behind the scenes, what are the different sites that they can see those things on?
Yeah, so I'll be doing Facebook Lives on the Get It Done Gals Facebook page. I'm also going to be on Get It Done Gals Instagram, doing, you know, Instagram Live and stories and behind the scenes. If you want more of the, like, really the finance side, the like how to fund your life, how to beauty tips, all these things that people ask me about, you know, people ask me about, like, what's your skincare? I have people constantly asking me about my skincare. I'm going to show some of that. That is on my private, or my personal Instagram. It's Nicole M, as in Mary, Lombardo. And so I'll be showing, you know, a lot more like personal behind the scenes on that, But if you just want to see, like, how to run a business abroad and really how to make business work, then Get It Done Gals.
Perfect. I love it. Well, anything else you want to add?
No, but thank you so much, Brittany, for taking the time to dig a little bit deeper and ask great questions, and being a part of the Get It Done Gals team. Thanks for
It's my complete honor. This was fun.
All right. Well, thank you so much.